everyone. My name is KJ, and I am the host of Great Talking Entertainment official channel. This is the YouTube channel where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back, everyone, to the YouTube channel. My name is KJ, and I'm the host, and today's spoiler review is for the new series on Hulu/Disney Plus, Murdaugh, Death in the Family, Episode 1, spoiler review. So if you have not seen this show, pause this, give me a thumbs up, watch it, come back, and let me know what you think about this series in the comments below. And just before I get any deeper than this, I'm only reviewing it based on the show, not by the actual facts. That's facts versus fictional. Just reviewing it by the episode and the plot of this series. So I know this takes place on a true event by the actual family, but we all know that no matter what, some things are not going to be true about this in this series. So I'm only going to review based on each episode of this season, of this series, I should say, of Murdaugh, Death in the Family. So again, this is a spoiler review. Y'all been warned. Now, let's get into it. This episode starts off with the first scene where it dated June 7th, 2021 at 10:06 p.m. in the Hamptons of South Carolina, as we see the mansion house as it comes with a very family orientation, like family. You know, things are perfect. The wife's being a wife, the husband's being the husbands, and kids are being kids type. Anything, it kind of just reminds you of your normal family sitcom show in a sense of it, right? But this has a little bit of a dark twist as we see the husband, Alex Murdaugh, start staring at two dead bodies, and as he's crying in fear because one of them is his wife and son who's been, looks like, shot. He calls 911, and then we get into February 22nd, 2019, where we see Better Days, where we see a happy family living out of the city. You know, this is a very like country, southern like people, which is cool with me. You know, no hate at all on that. And there, you know, there's a lot going on with this thing, but you know, it's a nice, and you know, they have gatherings and family members, cousins, brothers, sisters. Or, well, not sisters, I guess, because they don't have sisters. But, you know, just family members just popping up and very close. They always got each other's backs. And obviously, this is a family that's very powerful. The first episode, we see the wife, Maggie Murdaugh, as she's just, you know, in her garden doing her things. And then we see Alex Murdaugh and his buddies just target practice on fake deer. And you know, it's very country boy like, very very hunting like. And Alex Murdaugh won a bet, and he says this things which is setting up the tone of what type of person he is. He says it's only cheating if you get caught. So again, they're setting up the tone to foreshadow to what's to become within this series based on actual events. We also get introduced to the other family members of the Murdaugh, and we see how Alex Murdaugh does his job as an attorney, a lawyer. And in this episode, he also shows us like another side of him where he seems a bit shady. And we know like the two oldest is Alex and his brother Randy Murdaugh are the two sons of the grandfather, Randolph Murdaugh, who is rewarded by the government of this town in South Carolina, as we learn about this later on. And then Alex Murdaugh has two boys, and one of them's the oldest, and the other one's Paul Murdaugh, who is has a lot of pressure from his family. Both the brothers do, the sons of Alex Murdaugh, just based on what their family represents and what they expect from their children. On this side, I'm not talking about Randy's children. We're just talking about Alex and Maggie Murdaugh's two sons. And so there's a lot of pressure, and we see one is favorited and one's not, and they're very disrespectful to each other. But they try to be the cool parents. They try to be the responsible parents, and there's a lot of shady stuff that's going on, and we see a lot of jealousy and frictions between the family as well, and it seems to be a lot going on about this family. And again, this is this episode's really just setting up to what's to come and what do you expect, especially if you really, for the people who have kept up with the actual news about it back then, this is the thing, because we learned that here's a shady side of Alex Murdaugh, as he has this operation where he's like supplying like jellyfish, and it gets shut down due to the permit still not approved, that it's still pending. And this is from a guy who's his name is Doug, and he's like a sheriff or an officer type thing. And Mr. Murdaugh, this is him being shady. He tried to pay him off. He tries to make friends with him at that moment, but it doesn't work. But he's planning to get his way. And you can already tell that he's already corrupted, and he's the type of guy in his position with his job as an attorney, a lawyer, a prosecution type job. He plays on both sides, and he's very egotistic in this, just on this show, or this episode. I'm not saying that's how he is in real life. I don't know like that, but the way this guy is being portrayed in this show, he's very egotistic, and he feels like he can't be touched because of his family, which it goes a lot deeper in this as we go. And so this gets shut down, but then they have like a celebration for the grandfather, Randolph Murdaugh, and we see that in this, there's people who are there that are on his side, and there's people over there who don't trust him, as we see, and they feel uncomfortable. And he's not a perfect man. They also talked about in this that he's once cheated on his wife for a fling, and we see her just trying to somewhat be delusional and feel like they got past that, but she just deep down inside, she doesn't trust it, right? And we can tell that this guy, the husband, Alex Murdaugh, uses his wife to, convince people to be on his side, and he tries to play nice. He offers to help pay for things to get his way. It's just kind of messed up. And then later on in this episode, we see the two oldest sons get it, Alex Murdaugh and the brother Randy Murdaugh. Later in this episode, we see in the next scene that the oldest son from Alex Murdaugh, the grandfather, and the uncle Randy Murdaugh are all in this room where the pool table's at, and they wanted him to listen in about a case that Alex Murdaugh was working on in this episode, as he was trying to get $1 million but the grandfather settled for $750,000, and but Alex wanted that $1 million, but the dad shut him down and embarrassing from his son, as he told him that, hey, I'm going to retire by the end of the summer, the grandfather, and Randy's going to get the spot. But we remember Randy also in the beginning was questioning why he would go for that, and it really upset Alex. They cuss each other out. You just see how the two brothers are too differently in a way of doing. They have the same type of job, but they do things differently. So to see the oldest, Alex Murdaugh's oldest son, to see that in that situation has them second guessing about how he should be as a man, as a lawyer and stuff. And that really just sets the tone about like the idea of like having so much pressure by your own family and your parents, putting a lot of pressure on you to be something that maybe you didn't want to grow up to be. But it seems like the oldest son's like that. But Paul, who's the youngest, he's the one that's the most troubled child. This is the one that we're going to see throughout this whole series be the main attraction and go through things that you wouldn't expect, and also see a lot of similarities that he has to his father, Alex Murdaugh. And we're going to see a lot of that. And so, again, this family is very prideful, very egotistic. And he also, Alex Murdaugh, has an addiction to some type of pain pill killers. And we see, Buster and Paul, the brothers, they get drunk and they get angry at each other. They start fighting. And Paul, later on, and his friends went for a bonfire, hung out, drinking, but, he was getting a little too feisty, a little too crazy with the drinking, that they got on the speedboat, and he was going super fast that he let go of the wheel and just started getting angry, this is a true fact with this case. Was this was the whole thing. A boat crash happened, and we know that in this episode, Marilyn Beach is the person who is missing due to Paul, and he crashed the boat. And a lot of people within that were hurt and underage drinking. So a lot of laws were getting broken. And before all that, the Alex Murdaugh was confronted about the pain pills by the wife, and they're getting ready to argue, but they got the phone call about that, and that's what has happened to Mallory Beach, who is the actual real life woman who was killed in the boat accident in real life. And this is how it starts. So they all went straight to the point, and they're all in the hospital, and we know that the body's missing. They can't find the body. And so that's how this show ended, is the fact that they're in a different part of South Carolina, and now they got to figure out what's going to happen. So there's a lot going on in this, and that's just how episode 1 ended, just on the cliffhanger of that situation. So let's get into some topics. So the first topic is the Murdaugh family. Already they're just showing like the lifestyle they live, and it just seems like right now we've seen Randy, and we don't really know about how they're going to portray Randy Murdaugh in this series. So, but just based on the scenes we have seen him, it's pretty much likely he seems like a regular guy. He seems like he wouldn't step on people's toes to get what he wants, versus Alex Murdaugh, who seems very corrupted and very egotistic. And he puts a lot of pressure on his two boys, and him and his marriage with his wife, he seems very on the edge of shattering, and he's done a lot of things that the world just don't know about in this time, but people know about this family, and they know this family's very powerful, and they got a lot of people on the payroll in the sense of it, and they probably got a lot of blackmail on a lot of people who fear this guy, or who are in debt or owe something to him that he can expose. So they're setting up the tone of like who this is and what's he about, just based on this episode. Not talking about in the real life of it, but there's a lot going on in this. So the thing I did like about this is they're getting straight to the point, in a way. Like they're not gonna build it up to it. They're just getting straight to it, because I think the story of this situation and after the situation is the most interesting thing, because that's when that family in real life started getting to expose, and then finally got caught with everything. And we're seeing a prime example of like what could go wrong with having a family at times, and some of the challenges and some of the stuff that questions a person's personality and characteristic, and so it's a lot of that. So that's what I like. And I also just like the fact that they're putting timestamps and dates, months and years on there to give you a clear point of how long ago it was, or how many years they've been getting away with some of the stuff that Alex Murdaugh has been doing. So I do like that. And they really set the tone up. So now you're expecting like a family that has a lot of skeletons in the closet type. And so that's pretty cool. Another thing I like, I think the actors and actresses are really, really good at this. Like they really are portraying these actual people and really portraying them pretty accurately to what you would imagine they would sound like, talk like, especially in like South Carolina, which is shout out to South Carolina. But it was everything you kind of would expect to be if you could just base off this episode. Their mannerisms, the way they talk, the way they speak, it's pretty damn close to the real actual family. And that's pretty cool about that. So that's what I like. So I can tell these actresses and actresses are really going to put on, at this point, their best performance, and hopefully more in other future films and shows once they get more roles, I'm pretty sure. So this is really good, and I really like the tone of it. It's very dark and grimy about it, and this is like what a corrupt lawyer would do for the money, So if I had to give this a 1 out of 10, I'm definitely giving this a 5. This was a good pace. They haven't revealed a lot, but the first scene was, it's probably going to be the last episode of it. The way they set up that scene of, you see 2 dead bodies and then Alex Murdaugh calling the police. Now whether that was fact or not, true or not, that's how the episode's setting it up. So we kind of already know how this is going to end. It's going to circle back to that scene, to this particular scene on the last episode of this season of this series. So that's how they're setting that up. And then they really got the pack down of like what this family looks like, how their accent from living in South Carolina sounds like, and just living outside the city, you know, big house, big anchors of yards, party all the time. You know, we're seeing them trying to be a cool parent, but the harsh parent, and we're seeing, you know, the two sons are going to learn a lot of life lessons in life and have an eye-awakening moment of what life was really about, because maybe it seems like the parents are protecting them, which I'm sure any parent would. So you're going to see a lot of that, and this show is definitely setting up where they're going to leave it up to you, how you want to perceive the ending, how you want to perceive the family of this and other things. So it's definitely going to be like up to you, the viewers, to decide whether you believe in this or you didn't think they did it, you know. However you want to, they're leaving up to our opinion, basically. And so it's going to be very interesting. Now, I do hope they do have an ending to this, but it seems like they might leave it as a cliffhanger by we get to the last episode of this season. So we'll see how this goes. But other than that, I'm just giving it a 5. It really, it was okay. It was good. They set up the tone. They gave me an idea of how this family's going to be. And we'll see what happens next. But that is my spoiler review for episode 1. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment Official channel. Subscribe. Hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace out.